Hi, I'm Nick Regine, the professor at Crystal. Welcome to the second episode of Ask the Professor, presented by Create Your Style with SWAROVSKI Elements. When you're working with SWAROVSKI Elements, it's really easy to embellish items like these. I'd like to take the opportunity today to introduce Kellie DeFries, better known as the Crystal Ninja. Kellie, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Kellie, would you like to tell us today how that you accomplished these designs?
Yes, it's quite easy with all the options of SWAROVSKI Elements to create your style.
Wow, Kellie, this is really a cool idea what you did with this cell phone case. Do you mind telling me what product group that you used?
I enjoy using the SWAROVSKI Elements flatback crystals. They come in hundreds of colors and coatings.
Kellie and I have organized all the materials needed for this gluing demonstration. Part of this demonstration will be about preparing the work surface. It's very important to make sure that you have a clean surface before you start your gluing. Kellie, would you like to demonstrate some of the products you have for cleaning?
Yes, today I brought simple alcohol swabs, acetone, or larger alcohol swabs for those larger areas that you might be working on.
Now, Kellie, would those materials be good for working with metal, wood, or plastic?
Yes, all of the above.
So Kellie, show us how that you clean that surface using the alcohol pad.
Just give it a good wipe. And because it's alcohol, it's going to evaporate, so you want it to be completely dry before you begin.
I know, Kellie, that when you're cleaning the work surface, I know that it's also important to make sure that your hands are clean, the tools that you're using are clean, the crystals are also clean, they haven't been contaminated with anything. Would you agree with that?
I would agree. And make sure that you usually don't go back in and put all your fingerprints on your area. You want to always hold it by the very edge while you work on it. Here we have a phone case that was brand new out of the package. You always want to clean everything even though it's brand new. As you can see, there was quite a bit of dirt on this. Everything has been hand packaged at some point, so many people have touched it, or the machines that helped create it might have mold release on it, so you always want to clean it and check and even clean it again.
So Kellie, now you're going to need to describe to us how you go about designing a piece like this.
Well, you can start with many ways depending on what item you're working with. You can use a regular number 2 pencil, mechanical pencil, a variety of markers. Just depends on if you're working with plastics, metals, glass, or wood. So you'll have many different types of markers and paints, and it helps to make your design much sharper when you use the paints and plan out your design first. All right, so another material that is excellent for working with SWAROVSKI Elements would be a glass. So a perfume container is nice. And I usually work with a similar color of marker, and you can just start with designing wherever your area might be.
Now, Kellie, do you have to use a specific type of marker for this?
You want to stay away from oil-based markers or paints. You don't want to do this part with your grease pen or your China marker. This is a non-toxic version of a marker, and it's quite safe for most anyone.
And I would think that any type of grease pencil or any type of oil-based paint would contaminate the work surface?
Correct. Yep, you want to keep it as clean as possible.
Okay, Kellie, the next question that I'd like to ask you is, how do you go about picking up the SWAROVSKI Elements?
Well, there are many ways. Number one, you don't want to use your finger. That usually is not effective, and then you get oil on your stones. The industry standard is to use good old beeswax. With the warmth of your fingers, you can put it to the end of a toothpick real quickly here, and then gently touch the top of a stone, and it picks it up. Another way is to use tweezers. It's sometimes more difficult to pick up and move around. Sometimes it can pop across the room, or they can be too sharp and then scratch your stones, so you never want to damage your crystals. Another way is a tool that we have developed, the Crystal Katana, and it's using a premium style wax. It leaves little to no residue. You touch the top of your stone, and then you place it onto your item, and then with the other end, you can press it down to securely make sure it's adhered.
That's really a cool tool. Okay, I guess the next thing that we need to talk about is the glues or adhesives that we're going to work with when we're using the Swarovski elements. Kelly, if you can describe some of these glues that are here and what your favorite glue to use.
Yes, we have two-part epoxy. It's found in most craft stores. It comes in a variety of minutes, 5-minute, 10-minute, 30-minute. It's quite smelly, a little bit difficult to work with, and it dries fairly fast. So you want to use this for your smaller projects, a white craft glue. But my most favorite glue to work with is the two-part epoxy made by Swarovski. It's the CG500. It gives you over about 1 hour and 20 minutes working time, and for curing time, you want to leave it for 6 to 8 hours and definitely let it dry overnight.
Kelly, now we need to mix the adhesive. And what adhesive are you going to use on this project?
Well, I'm always going to choose my favorite, the Swarovski CG500. It takes equal parts. We've already opened the caps. 1 to 1 is your mixture.
And that would be equal parts of the adhesive?
Correct. Part A, and here comes part B. So you want your little dots about the same size. It does not have to be exact, but you want to mix them for 30 seconds to a minute. Just mix it thoroughly.
Now, Kelly, are you picking up any odors from this adhesive?
I'm picking up very pleasant odors, nothing like the other epoxies, and I think it might be because I love Swarovski so much.
That's great. The one thing, Kelly, that I will say that when you're working with any type of adhesives, make sure that you're working inside of a well-ventilated area. Be careful of where that you touch the adhesive to. Be careful around pets or if you have children where that they can get into the glue. So always just make sure that you're in a well-ventilated area.
So once your glue is mixed thoroughly, you can take, with your same toothpick or mixer, you can go back to where your area was that you designed earlier. And with this glue, you can go ahead and put a small amount to start working because it's not going to dry on you. You've got plenty of time to go.
So Kelly, you're almost squeegeeing that glue out.
Right. You don't want to squeegee too much. You just want to get a good amount to where it's not going to ooze out too bad. It does not take much. So you want to get a nice even coat. If it's too much, just kind of wipe it off onto your napkin. And that'll get us started.
Perfect. So now the next step for you would be?
So your next step is let's start applying some stones. You can start with grabbing the wax end of your Crystal Katana, gently touch the top of a stone, guide it to where you want to place it in your glue, and then you can press down to make sure it's connecting with the glue. And step and repeat over and over. Give it a good press, make sure it's in place. You always want to check to make sure your lines are nice and straight if you're working with a straight pattern. Always give it a nice push. Also with the two-part epoxy, you'll notice that the crystals may slide a bit. You'll have to just keep correcting their position. You have to keep watching your crystals so that they don't slide out of place. With this epoxy, it's going to stay quite wet for a while. Keep setting them. Looks pretty straight. Always check your lines from all angles if you're going for a straight look. You can clean up your edges once your stones are a little bit more firm. A little bit too much glue there. And then you can also come in with your alcohol pads later to clean up these edges. It cleans up quite nice with alcohol. And there you have it.
Okay, Kelly, the next thing that we need to demonstrate is how to work with a 5-minute epoxy, and I'd like to also see you finish the top of that perfume bottle.
For sure. We have your 5-minute, usually comes in an automatic syringe, so you don't have to measure anything out. The hard part is to get it out first, so that's a scrap pile. Now this is your better squeeze. And that's pretty much it. This has high fumes. You really want to open the window of that studio. You want to grab your toothpick or your mixing tool, and for 30 seconds to a minute, you want to mix it thoroughly. And you'll definitely notice that smell. It's quite strong, but it's for something very quick. So.
And Kelly, you're going to be putting a drop of adhesive down.
Correct. We have a little different process by using a syringe. You're going to have your syringes ready. You can get these at most hobby craft stores, hardware stores. And the way I get the glue into the syringe is just really quickly with your toothpick and scrape the sides. And this is plenty for what we're going to be working with today. You want to always hold it vertical, get all your air out as best you can. And then you want to pick a needle tip according to how thick your glue is. Ours is medium, so I like to use this yellow gauge needle.
And also the gauge of the needle would depend on the size of the crystals that you're working with.
Correct. Yeah, the smaller the better, but if your glue is too thick, it won't pass through the smaller needles, so you really have to practice and figure out which needle tip for which glue, because there's so many different combinations you can work with, and it'll be pretty quick. So you always want to hold your syringe like you mean it. Hold it in your fist and use your thumb to disperse the glue. You can practice on your side paper and see how that comes out. You let off your pressure of your thumb and it should usually stop coming out. So you get nice even dots of glue. So just by adding a few dots of glue onto your design that you've predetermined, and then pull back with your fingers so that glue stops coming out of its needle. Then grab your Crystal Katana and continue like before, picking up one stone, placing it at the beginning of your design. Make sure it connects with the glue and the medium you're working on. And you'll start to feel your glue start to begin to firm. Either work faster or start over.
And I think the first time gluer or DIY customer that would be doing this, it'd be better to do half of the design so that they can get the speed down.
Definitely, or just completely practice on your scrap piece of paper.
You make it look so easy.
Thank you. Lots of practice, lots and lots of practice. Don't get frustrated, just keep going. Make sure all these are secured. So here we have our design. It'll be set in just a few minutes with the 5-minute epoxy. Then you can clean it up. But before we finish up that, so I usually always have extra glue, and you can have something else set aside that you know it's a really quick project. So while I've got my glue out, I have a purse secure that I've pre-cleaned, and for really quick projects, I love working with this product. It's called Crystal Rock from Swarovski Elements. Okay, and just by adding a small amount of glue to the edge area where the crystal rock will set, this is plenty. You can just place it right on top. Crystal rock comes in a variety of sizes and shapes from Swarovski Elements.
That's amazing. So you just took an ordinary purse hook and added the crystal rocks.
Correct. This is to hang your handbag on the table while you're at a restaurant, and now it's extra special.
Great job, Kelly.
Thanks to Swarovski Elements.
So Kelly, can you tell me how that you would go about removing any excess glue that might have oozed out from underneath the crystal or maybe got on top of the crystal?
Right, sometimes that does happen. You can use your extra toothpicks to scrape off as much as you can without disturbing your crystals, because they are still very wet, and the glue it'll move on you pretty quickly. If that doesn't work, you want to let it set for a little while till it's almost cured, and then you can take Q-tips, cut the end at an angle, that way you have a nice point. Then you can bring it over to your acetone.
Better known as fingernail polish remover?
Better known as fingernail polish remover, right. I like to make a little dipping cup so I don't spill everywhere. I just dip it in there, and then on your excess glue, you can work it to where it'll just start to come off and clean up those edges. If you get any glue on the top of your stones, you can also do this once it dries, but you don't want to do it while your crystals are wet, because it'll just move your design.
Okay, Kelly, the next demonstration that I'm going to need you to do for me is to use some UV glue. The reason that we would use UV glue on either glass or plexiglass would be if we used an epoxy, like you did on the top of the perfume bottle lid, that over time it may yellow, and it also is not dishwasher safe. So if we wanted to, let's say, create a wine glass or do a vase or something that we would want to place inside the dishwasher, it's definitely better to use a UV adhesive. And the UV adhesive that Kelly will be working with, and also the UV lamp, comes from CLK Associates, Chuck Connell. And Kelly, here's the UV lamp, so I'm going to turn this over to you.
That's great. Thank you very much. So Chuck also supplies the glue. It's already in the syringe. It's black because it's light activated, so you don't want the light to ever hit that. We've added on one of our syringe tips, and we're going to put a few dots of glue onto our beautiful perfume container. Set that down. Grab your katana. Place your stones. Place your crystals. And now with your UV light, I like to shine it from below.
And Kelly, you're putting your hand over the top to reflect some of the UV lamp?
Right, that's correct. And then if they had a little bit of the adhesive come out of the edges. And there you have it.
And then Kelly, you would use the same techniques to clean any excess glue that would come off?
This is right. Have your acetone on standby. And I would still give it a little while to cure, and then you can clean up, because it does slide. It's very wet glue. It's very liquidy. Trusty scissors, the old Q-tip. Cleans right up. That acetone really works well.
And by using this adhesive, it's now dishwasher safe, or you can hand wash it.
Right.
Kelly, I also want you to know that when you're working with UV adhesive in a small handheld device like this lamp, that it won't go through colored glass, or it won't go through a colored plexiglass. If we were going to do some type of application, you may need a very strong, intensive lamp for that.
Yes, this is a wonderful project for, let's say, bridal champagne flutes or other types of glass, but you wouldn't want to put it on the darker champagne bottle, so it's kind of a combination you have to work with. And there we have it.
It looks great. So we've gone over a few applications today on gluing, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Kellie DeFries, the Crystal Ninja.
Thank you for having me.
Kelly, thank you so much for coming on the second episode of Ask the Professor. But Kelly, before I let you go, would you please give us a little bit more information on what products you have here in front of us and some of the products that you've used?
Certainly. Well, I do concentrate in pretty much just the flatback Swarovski elements. This is my personal iPad case, and it's covered with lots of clear stones, and they're in many, many different shapes. There's butterflies and wings and triangles and stars that are all blended in. Here we have a special design for one of our clients. She sent in her Christian Louboutin boots for a cherry blossom sakura design with even the special butterfly Swarovski elements that are flatback as well. The license plate frame is using two-part epoxy. It goes through any car wash and snow conditions or heat. It's good for many, many years.
Thank you, Kelly, so much.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed our second episode of Ask the Professor. We look forward to bringing you new episodes featuring fun, creative, and easy ways to use Swarovski elements. Remember to visit our website at www.createyourstyle.com, and please share your designs on our Facebook fan page and follow us on Pinterest. We also welcome your postings, comments, and questions. Again, I'm Regine, the Professor of Crystal, answering all your crystal application questions.